Two men walked into a room, but behind them stood two superpowers, locked in the most dangerous rivalry of the 21st century. The meeting between Donald Trump, the President of the United States of America, and the Chinese Premier Xi Jinping wasn't just diplomacy. It was battle over trade, technology, military dominance, and the future of the global order. From Taiwan to Iran, from AI supremacy to control of the Pacific and Indian Oceans, every issue on earth was sitting on that table. And the biggest question was simple. Are the United States and China stepping back from confrontation or preparing for a Cold War? Welcome to News First. Here we break down the puzzling world of geopolitics, military, world affairs and other information which impacts you into easily consumable videos. We do take a look at sports and politics too. Do like this video and subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon for alerts. Now let's get back to the topic. The Trump-Xi summit happened at a moment when relations between Washington and Beijing were dangerously unstable. For years, the US-China relationship has been defined by tariffs, technology restrictions, military posturing, and ideological competition. Under Donald Trump's earlier presidency, the US launched a massive tariff war against China. Washington accused Beijing of unfair trade practices, intellectual property theft, and industrial manipulation. China responded with counter tariffs. Global supply chains were shaken, markets across the world panicked, and businesses worldwide were forced to rethink dependence on China. But trade was only one front. This rivalry expanded into artificial intelligence, semiconductor chips, quantum computing, rare earth minerals, and military power projection. The summit became an attempt to stabilize a relationship that many analysts now openly describe as a new Cold War. Economics dominated the summit agenda. Trump pushed for stronger protection for American industries and renewed pressure against Chinese trade practices. Xi Jinping, meanwhile, wanted economic stability. China's slowing economy, weak consumer demand, and global investor concerns have increased pressure on Beijing to avoid further escalation with Washington. One of the biggest outcomes of the summit was a temporary stabilization in US-China ties. Markets across the world reacted positively because both sides signaled they wanted to avoid immediate economic confrontation. But beneath the smile, the competition remains brutal. The United States still views China as its greatest long-term economic challenger, and China believes Washington is trying to contain its rise. Nowhere is this battle more intense than artificial intelligence. The AI race has become the modern equivalent of the nuclear arms race of the 20th century. America currently leads in advanced AI chips, software ecosystems, and frontier AI companies. But China is investing enormous state resources into AI infrastructure, surveillance systems, military AI, and semiconductor independence. Washington has restricted high-end chip exports to China. Beijing is accelerating efforts to create domestic alternatives. This is no longer just an economic competition. It is about who controls the technologies that will define military power, financial systems, and geopolitical influence for decades. The next superpower may not be decided by bombs or bullets, but by algorithms, semiconductors, and artificial intelligence. And both China and US know this. Now, another major issue during the summit was Iran and the growing instability in the Middle East. Trump claimed Xi Jinping assured him that China would not send weapons to Iran. That statement was significant, really significant, because Washington increasingly sees China-Iran relationship as part of a broader geopolitical challenge. China depends heavily on Middle Eastern energy imports. Iran is strategically important for Beijing's Belt and Road ambitions and regional influence. At the same time, the United States wants to prevent deeper military cooperation between Beijing and Tehran. But the summit failed to produce any major breakthrough on Iran. The core disagreements remained unresolved. For Washington, Iran represents a security threat tied to regional instability and attacks against US allies. For Beijing, maintaining ties with Iran helps secure energy access and expand Chinese influence in West Asia. And behind all this lies another reality: control of maritime trade routes. The Indian Ocean, Persian Gulf, and the South China Sea are now central to power politics. China has expanded its port influence across the Indian Ocean region. The US Navy remains dominant, but China is steadily increasing its maritime reach. Whoever controls the seas and its lanes controls the global economy. That is the buzzword now. If there was one issue hanging over the summit more than anyone else, it was about Taiwan. Taiwan has become the single most dangerous flashpoint in US-China relations. China considers Taiwan part of its territory. Xi Jinping has repeatedly stated that reunification is inevitable, and if needed, force will be applied. The United States officially follows the One China policy, but also supports Taiwan militarily and politically. This strategic ambiguity has created one of the most dangerous geopolitical tensions on Earth. During the summit, Trump's relative silence on Taiwan was seen by some analysts as an attempt to avoid escalating tensions with Beijing. But that silence also raised concerns among allies and observers. Because Taiwan is not just about territory, Taiwan dominates global semiconductor manufacturing. A conflict there could collapse global technology supply chains overnight. And militarily, Taiwan sits at the center of the Pacific balance of power. For China, control over Taiwan would break through the first island chain and expand Chinese naval power deep into the Pacific. For the United States, defending Taiwan is tied to maintaining credibility among its allies like Japan, South Korea, and the Philippines in the Asian continent. And Taiwan is not just an island, it is a fault line where the world's two largest powers could collide. The summit also cast fresh attention on China's broader maritime strategy. Beijing is aggressively expanding influence across the South China Sea, Pacific Ocean, and the Indian Ocean. China has built artificial islands, expanded naval deployments, and strengthened strategic ports across critical shipping routes. The United States sees this as an attempt to challenge American naval dominance, and Washington has responded with military alliances, freedom of navigation operations, and increased Indo-Pacific deployments. The Pacific Ocean is becoming the central arena of great power competition. Meanwhile, the Indian Ocean is emerging as the logistical backbone of global trade and energy movement. China's maritime expansion has triggered growing concerns in India, Australia, Japan, and the United States. Because this is no longer just about economics, it is about who shapes the rules of the 21st century world order. So who won the Trump-Xi summit? The short answer is nobody fully did. The meeting stabilized tensions temporarily, both sides avoided immediate escalation, markets calmed, diplomatic channels reopened, but the deeper rivalry remains unresolved. The United States wants to preserve global leadership. China wants to reshape the international system around its own rise, and neither side appears willing to back down. The tariff wars may cool down temporarily, but the AI race is accelerating, and the competition for influence across the Pacific and Indian Ocean is only intensifying. This summit was not the end of the conflict, it was merely the next chapter. The Cold War of the 20th century was fought with nuclear weapons. The Cold War of the 21st century will be fought with technology, trade, and influence. If you enjoyed this geopolitical documentary, subscribe now for more deep dives into global power, military strategy, and world affairs, because the next global crisis may already be unfolding.